Yeah,
team.
I saw in your on the site that between you and Kali, you do 15,000 kilometers each per harvest, and that's just incredible.
Yeah, and a lot of driving, and but we're actually starting to focus more and more on Stellenbosch fruit, not just for the logistics, but I mean we're quite Stellenbosch based, so it's a lot of focus on some nice fruit, and of course our estate is now in full production, so it's quite fun.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting. I know that you and Kali have been on board for the last 10 years. But what I was interested in was, when did Delaire Graff actually kick off? When was the sort of the first vintage that it was ever released?
Well, Delaire's first bottling was in '84.
Okay.
By the Platters, but Delaire's, when Mr. Graff bought it, the first real vintage under the Graff label was probably 2008 in the new winery.
Right.
But then it produced, I think, total 100,000 bottles. And then it just grew to where we are now, about 500,000 bottles a year.
Yeah, yes, see, that's a rapid growth, because I think I left South Africa around about 1996. So this is definitely something that's evolved way after my time in South Africa.
Yeah, 1996, Delaire made one of the best Chardonnays.
Yes.
Still drinkable today. I mean, the 1996 Delaire Chardonnay was fantastic.
Really holding together. Has your style changed much since the beginning in terms of your whites? For example, maybe I should save these questions for as we get to closer to the whites. What I really love about the Chardonnay that we're seeing tonight is this nimbleness. You know, obviously there's oak involved in the process, but it's a very cleverly put together wine. It's really extraordinarily good. And has this always been the style, or was it a little bit an older style originally?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we're kind of very site specific, and I think we drink like expressing the sites as much as we can. And then that kind of, Delaire's always been known for good Chardonnay. It's always been that kind of mineral, kind of almost slaty style of Chardonnay, very kind of limey style. So a lot of focus on the fruit purity.
It actually it reminds me a little bit of the Cristallum in terms of style. That sort of crunchy graphite kind of minerality in the Chardonnay. Really impressive.
We don't do any malolactic, so none of that rich fat, creamy style of Chardonnay. It's quite steely almost.
Yeah,
I like. There's a style I enjoy. I think it's a style that's more popular and more modern these days than the old traditional kind of heavy battery styles.
Because I remember the old days of the Rustenburgs. Oh, geez, I can't remember the names now, but all of those were just big and creamy and buttery in the extreme. It really was.
I think there's still a handful of producers that still produce that style of wine. For example, Vergelegen, they still go for that because they've got such a kind of a, for better lack of age clients. They know they're kind of those traditional clients that love Vergelegen wines. Their wines are quite the same with Meerlus. Meerlus Chardonnay, same thing, very rich, kind of that old style. But they've got the clients. That's also important.
So that defines it. All right, we're on 7 o'clock, so let's kick off. So just to start again, Morney, thanks so much for coming tonight. I appreciate you drinking wine with us so early in the morning, and I also equally appreciate the view behind you. It makes me very nostalgic for the Cape. It's a fantastic look. I was amazed doing the research for tonight, just to see the extent and breadth of the the vineyards that you have. I'd always considered Delaire Graff to be something that was Stellenbosch centric, and as you said a little bit earlier, clearly that's a move that you seem to be going towards. But delighted to see Swartland Chenin here, and which is so incredibly reflective of the Swartland style. I was astonished to see that between you and Fernand, who is the viticulturist, guys do 50,000 kilometers a year during harvest, which is no mean feat. That's something to be impressed with. I also see that Vrey, before I let you take over and guide us through these wines, do you think that the Old Mutual Trophy was the real hockey stick in 2006, where the Delaire Graff Reserve got the 5 stars from Plateau? Would that be the moment when it really took off for Delaire Graff?
Yeah, look, we've been very lucky that our Cabernet has always done very well for us, and it's kind of our reputation very much based around that, our Cabernet Sauvignon. Is that it was the Lawrence Graff or our normal Cabernet Reserve. So yes, yeah, it's definitely kind of people are starting to take their serious after these awards, and we're quite a professional serious outfit, so we really want to just produce really nice, honest, decent red wines on the estate.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you'd like to give the guys just some background as to the beginnings of where Delaire Graff has got to in terms of the original estate, that would be terrific. And then maybe we can start to look at the Chenin next.
Fantastic. So we do the little bit of a presentation. Can you share this?
Yeah, that'll be great. But what I'll do is I'll make you host so you can drive the bus. So hang on just a second.
First
I'll ask you at the end to throw it back to me. Okay. At the end, just throw it back to me so I can sort out the recordings and stuff. So it's all yours.
Okay.
Go to share.
All right, there you go. There we go.
Excellent.
Full screen. How do I go back? Cool, great. Hi guys, welcome. I'm gonna quickly talk you through a little bit of the estate and the history, and then I think most importantly we got 6 wines to taste, and we got 45 minutes, so it's gonna be. I'll run you through the estate and a little bit of the history, and as I taste, I also will elaborate more on the estate as we go through the wines. But yeah, thank you. It's 7 o'clock with you guys. It's 1 o'clock with us in the middle of the most hectic week of harvest. So we're very, very excited. Harvest is looking fantastic. With like really the whites are the best I've seen since 2009. So very excited. And yeah, so as you can see, my background picture and also the mountain in front of you on the picture is the beautiful Simonsberg mountain. It's also it's got a very famous thing of it's the highest freestanding mountain in South Africa. So it's about 1,800 meters. So it's a lovely old mountain. That's our view from the estate. And yeah, so the farm is about 20 hectares of vineyard, 45 hectares in total. And here on the estate, we focus mainly on Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay. It's about 60% Cab, 40% Chardonnay. 60% Cab predominant with other Bordeaux varieties and Chardonnay. So the site is just really special. What makes Delaire site very unique is the aspect. We're very much north facing from an altitude starting about 340 meters all the way to 580 meters. So very kind of the full exposure of the sun and the altitude. We're normally about 2 weeks later than the Stellenbosch Valley because of the altitude and the kind of more cooler evenings that we get. So a very special place. I mean, we're going to taste 3 wines that's 100% estate wines today. You'll truly see the special terroir that we have on the estate. So yeah, just a little bit on the estate. We also not just a winery. We also have 2 restaurants. One being like a more kind of bistro chic style, and also Indonesian, more Asian inspired restaurant. But please go on our website afterwards. We don't, because we have only 45 minutes, we're not going to go through the whole slideshow of what we all have on the farm. But lovely kind of also relay chateau, lodges and spa. And this is one of our lodges, the beautiful view towards the Simonsberg mountain that you saw earlier. And this is also one of our very kind of superior lodges that's just really fantastic, great place to come stay. Also nice lady in the vineyard. That's our Chardonnay. Yeah, so beautiful. If you look at the soils there as well, kind of very kind of dead, like rich alluvial kind of oak leaf soils, very kind of red, kind of very kind of, you get that earthiness in the wine. It's really, really special. Oh yeah, so another picture of the estate, our Sauvignon Blanc. We're not going to taste the Sauvignon Blanc. We have about 16 wines in total that we produce, so we're only going to taste 6 of the lot. And yeah, another rosé. Some more Sauvignon Blanc. It's just more wine. I didn't do this presentation. So yeah, cool. So just also, how can I do this? Share screen. Stop sharing. Robert, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, cool. Sorry, I'm
Thanks for
horrible.
that,
So yeah, the farm is, like I said earlier, 2008 was our first vintage in the new winery. We've been making wine since 1982 with the previous owner, but Delaire Graff, he bought the property in 2003. 08 being our first vintage. This is my 14th vintage on Delaire. So yeah, it's really been there since the beginning and really kind of build up the wines to where they are today. And we're all very proud and very chuffed with what we've achieved. Yes, I think we start with tasting the wine. Like I said, normally after a few glasses of taste, I'm normally more chatty. So
yeah, that tends to happen with me as well, to the detriment of customers.
Yeah. And so yeah, we'll taste the wine. I think the first glass, have you all got the first wine, the Swartland Chenin?
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, a very special project that we have. It's not, Swartland is the area about 45 kilometers north from our property. And the Swartland means black land if you translate it directly, but it's the black means it's so hot. If it really kind of, the sun is very strong there, and kind of, I think that's where the name comes from, because the sun is quite intense there. Very warm, almost semi-desert area, very bizarre place to grow grapes, but growing fantastic grapes. So I say it's only 45 kilometers north from us, but really at least a 10-degree temperature difference in a day there between us and them. Old bush vine Chenin, so the vines are not trellis, so about maximum about 1 meter from the ground. Old vineyards, about 45 to 50-year-old vineyards that we use for this wine. The root systems are so nice and deep, because what's special in the Swartland, on the top it looks
yeah, it's not pretty to look at from the top.
Yeah, so from top it's like just like vines and it's sandy, but the real magic lies in the soil. There's a lot of decomposed granite, and the water table is quite high there, so the roots really find themselves very quickly into the moist soils, and they can just withstand anything. 45 degrees is nothing for them. Chenin Blanc is also very tough, so it produces quite beautiful fruit, but also the toughness comes from very little disease pressure. It can handle sunshine. Really just quite a special wine. So for us, we've been making this wine since 2010. Very much the same style, whole bunch pressed. We put it in old big barrels. So for me, I like to ferment the wines in barrel, but it's all old barrels. So very kind of neutral oak barrels.
Yeah, it's the oak is not commandeering the fruits at all. I think that's what I really love about it. There's this clean, crystal clear purity about it, which is really gorgeous. And I'm thinking about a lot of other Chenins that I've worked through in the last year from the Swartland, and I think this is quite remarkably different, but with that element of cleanness and purity. Very often people get caught up in the ceramic and the oak and so much, maybe even overworking the wine, whereas here I think there's a pure cleanness about it, especially in the tannin structure is gorgeous. I think the dominant flavors for me are honey and maybe some kind of nuts, and I really love the way. Yeah, really beautiful.
Yeah, Robert, thanks. For me, I mean, you'll taste now our white wines, and also even in our reds. I'm a bit of an acid nut. I really enjoy acidity in wines because acidity gives freshness. I think in South Africa we've got the lovely sunshine, and we get that warmth. We get the kind of the lovely richness from the sun. So I'm very precious to maintain as much natural acidity as possible. So the kind of the wine just cuts through very beautifully. I think with certain dishes, like creamy dishes, it just really cuts through quite nicely through with the wine.
And I think your price points here, with relative to a lot of the other Chenin producers in the Swartland, is very effective. We're landing it here with all the duties and GST and what have you at $36, and I'm trying to think of all the other Chenins that we are coming across in Singapore at this price point, and it's very convincing. I think the quality to the price is definitely a winner. I really like that.
Yeah, Robert. Also, nice thing about the Chenin Blanc is that for me, Asian cooking, soya-based food, like it's absolutely fantastic with this one. Indochin, if you have time, go look on our website, Indochin restaurants, Asian-inspired restaurant. And I must say, Chenin Blanc is king with that style of cooking.
Yeah, I'm thinking of lemongrass and coriander and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it can. It really would be amazing. So maybe let's move to your white reserve. A fair price point, fair price point up now, but Tim Aitken 93 points. It's I'll leave you to talk us through the blend and the regional breakdown of the wine.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. I think the nice thing about this wine is look at you, Laura. You've been to Delaire.
We have and loved it.
Fantastic. Makes my life easier.
I know Kashni's definitely been there. You were there when I was in the Cape about 2 years ago.
This was New Year's Eve, 2020. Yeah, 1990. Yeah, 19 into 20.
Yeah, no, I was a regular visitor when it was still Delaire. I used to buy Delaire wines when I was still living there.
So pre-frost.
I was buying the Delaire Grand Reserve. I think Kevin Arnold was the winemaker, if I remember correctly. That was mid-80s.
Yes, you should have come with me, Robert.
I know, Kashni, we'll do that again for sure.
Yes, then we can travel.
I can't believe we were both in Stellenbosch at the same time and couldn't hook up. It was terrible.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
Morney, it's really nice of you to show us photos of places we're not allowed to go to. It's really great.
Yeah,
thanks,
that's you. Just amazing.
Soon.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. I think the nice thing about the next wine is that we call it a bit of a geeky wine. You know, it's like all the winemakers and all the wine drinkers and wine, like a white Bordeaux. If you've been to Bordeaux, drinking all those white Bordeaux, a typical Pessac, Barsac area. Really, for me, quite special wine. And this is very kind of a chameleon, and if it comes to where the fruit is from, because I've kind of conceptualized the idea of getting the wine to a point where I like it. So knowing the vineyards, the characters that we get from Durbanville. Then we use a bit of darling fruit for a bit of the grassiness, and there's some Elgin fruit in there for a bit of black curranty characters, and then some old Semillon vineyards. So it's all a kind of blend of different areas to really come up with this kind of special wine. That's for me very special. It's 2018 White Reserve, 60% Sauvignon Blanc, 40% Semillon, and yeah, definitely a richer style of wine. We ferment it in oak. We also keep it in barrel for about 10 months. But the key thing with this is we bottle now in January, we bottled it 2020, and we keep it 2 years in bottle before we will release. The reason for that is that I just want to get rid of some of the primary flavors. It's very Sauvignon Blanc-y in the beginning. And I really want to get that true essence of that black currantiness, that kind of more secondary flavors that you get. None of that primary, like easiness of Sauvignon Blanc. It's really quite special. So we just released the 2018, so quite young. Ageability on this wine, 10 years easily. I mean, this wine's aged beautiful. And yeah, another great food one.
It's so interesting because I'm thinking I've spent a lot of time in the western part of Australia, and most Australians would probably agree that aside from Chardonnay, Semso Blanc blends are probably one of the best whites that they can do in the Margaret River.
Yes.
And I think you've nailed it with this, because so often with an SBS or an SSB, there's so much Sauvignon Blanc, it seems to dominate, that kind of capsicum grass kind of action, whereas here it's way more integrated. There's a beautiful waxiness that I suspect is coming from the Semillon, and I really think that they round each other out and really integrate and balance well together. It's not something that always happens with this sort of blend, but I think you've nailed it.
Oh, thanks. It's a wine that I've been very kind of keen to make and drink my whole life, and it's a bit of a, like I said, like a mixed box of fruits from all over, but it's really to kind of get the true character of every site to have the wine in the end.
I have a question for you. Had
we've had a lot of the 17, as I'm just now tasting the 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we actually, in Singapore, we brought back a couple of cases last time we were there. What is your view of the difference between the 17 and 18 on the Reserve?
Yeah, the 17 is brilliant. It's my favorite vintage of even the reds. The reds was my best vintage, and 17 on the whites was also, I mean, definitely a textbook vintage. We had great acidity, great purity of fruit, like great concentration and expression of fruit and sight. Now 17 is just, I mean, we all talked about 15 being such a great vintage, but yeah, 17 is really spectacular.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you talk to the likes of Meerlust, and even the guys who are only in Swartland, they'll say that 17 was book for them. Everyone seems to use this word. It was an easy, it was not a complicated vintage. It didn't require incredibly hard work. The climate was just perfect for South African wine. Yeah,
I think that for me, the key thing about the 17 vintage is kind of give you a bit of that X factor in there. There's other element that came to the wine that we don't see in other vintages enough. In the red specifically, we pick up a specific earthiness that I really enjoy in the 17s. And the 17 whites is, I think you get that X factor is almost an enhanced fruit purity with what we got in 17. So it's a lucky vintage.
This is beautiful, so thank you.
I just wanted to ask you, I understand, Morney, that the wines are drawn from Franschhoek and Elgin, which are dramatically different in terms of altitude, Franschhoek being so close to the ocean, Elgin being in. What are the two attributes that those two regions lend to this kind of wine, distinct from each other?
So the Elgin fruit is kind of more that kind of blackcurranty, quite herbaceous, could be quite more on the greener spectrum of fruit. It gives a lot of freshness. The Franschhoek is where the waxiness come from. And it's also, I mean, on the correction that vineyard's over 70 years old that we use for this. It's old vine, Semio. It produces a minuscule amount every year, I think less than a ton a hectare. Really kind of big berry, but very concentrated. And kind of, you know, that Franschhoek Semio, I mean, if you look at the vineyard and look at the conditions it's growing and kind of the sandy soils, you wouldn't think it will make great wine. And it doesn't really taste great in the first year, but give it the second year, the third year, the fourth year, the fifth year, then that just explodes that wine. And it's really special.
In terms of this construct, I'm reminded of Mosswood Semillon from Margaret River, which also has that beautiful, lustrous waxiness. And I remember when I first got to Australia, that was the first Semillon, thank God, someone gave me, because I'll always remember it. It was, for me, a benchmark. And I recognize similar attributes in the Semillon that you've got here tonight. No question.
Yeah, I know, it's true. I mean, we were actually, Kali and myself, we visited Mosswood last year, 2019 in July. Yeah. And we tasted the Semillon there. It was very nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go to Chardonnay.
Yeah, onto the Chardonnay. So now this is in the top 10 magazine. Guys, wine magazine in South Africa is akin to possibly Decanter or the wine magazine in Australia with similar name. And from what I recall, when you guys got this award in the top 10, Crystallum was in there and Hamilton Russell was in there. Those are the two that I know relatively well in terms of premium Chardonnays. But clearly you're in exalted company and totally deserve it with the rating that you got for this wine. I really, maybe I'm talking too much. I'll leave it to you to tell us a bit about it.
No, Robert, yes, it's very special. I think when we planted the vineyard in 2010, we planted this vineyard. But I said to Anna, CEO, that people are they're gonna read about this vineyard one day, and it's actually we're starting to really see what this vineyard is full potential. So it's called the Terrace Block. So it's 19 terraces that was cut into the mountain. It kind of starts with about I would say about 400 meters going all the way up to 460 meters. So it's about a 60-meter top to bottom elevation. And also it's it's predominantly north facing, but we get some east and some westerly facing. So you can really kind of have you have a bit of everything. You get the warmness, the coolness from the side, and you get everything. And I always explain to people, it's almost a summary of Delaire, this wine. Because we have vineyards on all those different aspects and different altitudes all over the farm for Chardonnay. So this is just kind of summarizes the whole kind of heart and soul of Delaire Chardonnay. Very small production, 2,500 liters every year. If we're lucky, we get 3,000 bottles. The Terrace Block, we have the 2019, a really kind of good vintage. It wasn't, I mean, probably 19 reds wasn't as great as the white was, but very special. And again, very minimalistic approach to the winemaking, very whole bunch pressed. It goes a bit more new oak. It's about 40% new oak, but this vineyard, it eats up oak. You know, it really, you can give it 100% oak and it's still going to taste no oak. It's got this brilliant acidity. 19 particularly was quite a acidic vintage. And we really got, but again, I refuse to do any malolactic to get rid of the acidity. I really wanted to just showcase the vintage and showcase the character of that vineyard. And the acidity really helps absorbing all that new oak. And yeah, it's still a baby. I think we need another year or so.
That's definitely it. You know that this wine is going to show so much more in a year or two. I think your winery notes, if I remember, was 22 onwards was when you recommended looking at it. For me tonight, it's more of that struck match flintiness that's definitely dominating. The florals are there, but at this stage are not able to really fully show themselves. But the acidity, yes, Morney, it's beautiful. That it just crystal clear acidity. It's really remarkably good.
Well, thanks.
It's definitely
struck match flintiness that you get at the moment is really due to the acidity and the low pH, and it really just kind of holds the wine. You know, it's just kind of like a horse that wants to be let loose, but it's just holding it, and then one day it will just show beautifully.
Yeah, I keep saying that about myself, but it somehow never seems to happen, sadly. So maybe let's move on to the Botman. It's quite interesting because the long story is how we got to you guys was Kashi and I were both in Stellenbosch at the same time, and we both tasted your Cabernet, which we're going to do next. And I was immediately in love with back to Singapore and was banging on to Lou. We have to get this Delaire Graff. That's quite interesting. Shut me down on track here, but it seems to me that to Delaire Graff is a little bit like Chocolate Block is to Botmaskop. That Botmaskop seems to have created its own following and its own gravitas at a far more reasonable price point and a completely different style. I'm not sure if I'm wrong about that, but it seems to have created a global following in its own right.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a cult wine lately. I mean, people really all over the world talk about it. And it's really kind of the true expression of the Blanc Valley, the valley we're in. It's a true expression of Stellenbosch Bordeaux blends. You know, so it's not Bordeaux, it's Stellenbosch Bordeaux blends.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, we focus quite a lot on Cabernet. So it's a big dollop of Cabernet in this. I think about 69% Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a bit of Cabernet Franc, Bordeaux, Merlot, Malbec. So it's all 5 Bordeaux varieties. And yes, it's for the price point, the quality is really fantastic. I think.
You know, it's at $45 here, and I think that it has a class and a distinction about it that's really difficult to beat out of the rest of the Southern Hemisphere reds. I'm quite struck by the influence of the Cabernet Franc. I don't know how much is in there, but I'm seeing traces of the Franc definitely in the phenolics. But beautiful cassis, Ribena, that kind of dark fruit action in the nose is really beautiful.
Yeah, Cabernet Franc plays a key part in this wine. It's about 16% to 18%, depends on the vintage. And I actually really I deliberately use quite a lot of Cabernet Franc. It's really because a cab sometimes can be quite chunky and quite rich and quite tannic, you know. And I'm a winemaking, and the side of Delaire, we get more the red fruit, more feminine, more elegant style. And I find the Cabernet Franc just really tones down the cab a bit and just kind of keep it a bit more under control. And it gives that beautiful ageability and that beautiful kind of crunchiness that you get. Yeah.
There's a black pepper action that for me, maybe I'm wrong about it, but it seems to be a trace for me of Cabernet Franc rather than Cabernet. and it seems to somehow add a level of character to the wine that's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we get, I mean, I see it as a compliment that the Delaire wines, the Bordeaux varieties, they're Cab Frankish, you know, so that's, and that's a good compliment. Because Cab Franc for me is that really kind of freshness, crispness, roasted lamb and Botmaskop, sure, can't beat that.
Fantastic.
Morney, do you not have any Merlot on the estate?
Yes, we're actually harvesting it today.
Okay.
We had to stop because of the rain, so we'll continue tomorrow. But no, our Merlot is actually very special. It's the oldest vineyard on the estate, and really kind of proving South Africans wrong that you can make good Merlot. It's very similar to the Botmaskop. Very bright.
Do you blend any of it into your Cabernet mixes at all?
I beg your pardon?
Do you use it with your Cabernet to blend at all, or not?
Yeah, we blend it in the Botmaskop.
In this, I think, in the Botmaskop. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what I was thinking. I thought there was some Merlot in this Botmaskop, but how much is that?
Well, 8%.
8%, okay.
Yeah, so very little, but it's there, you know. So I like to bottle the Merlot on its own, because sometimes it can be too plummy and make the wine too rich. Because our Merlot is quite full and rich. But yeah, the Botmaskop, our bread and butter.
Now that you're talking about roast lamb, I'm thinking of rosemary and those kind of green herbs that would echo incredibly well with those sorts of dishes with this wine. I'm blown away by, again, its quality for its price point. It's insanely good value. And also, I think, I don't know if you'd agree that we're looking at a 5 to 8 year cellaring potential. There's so much youthful vigor in the wine. It's not something you need to worry about. I mean, you can drink it now and love it, but it's also something that I'm dying to see what happens to that Cabernet and Cabernet Franc with a little bit of extra time in the cellar to see just how it melds even further. Really, really terrific wine.
No, I mean, I think well, not history, but kind of, it's been proven itself quite that Cabernet Franc led blends, or it needs 5-6 years before it really gets the right stuff.
Yeah.
But really, it needs a lot of time.
There was a question before I forget from Lou on the Chenin Blanc. What do you reckon the best temperature to serve Chenin is in its singular right?
Yeah, I think their specific style, definitely not too cold, because it's got that kind of richness from barrel fermentation. And I mean, if you have a light, cheap Chenin, obviously as cold as possible, probably going to taste better. But that's definitely not. I mean, just out of the fridge on the outside for half an hour, then start drinking, just to break the kind of the real chill, because it's just expressive. Absolutely. Yeah.
So moving on to the Cabernet, the Reserve Cabernet, which I just love this wine. It's incredibly good. So we're tasting 18, or the 18.
18.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the Cab 2018 or Delaire Cab Reserve is very special for us. It's I mean, as I mentioned earlier, our reputation on Cabernet or reputation of Delaire as a good wine producer is very much based on this wine. Also very much from a single vineyard on the estate. And I counted the other day in my 14 vintages now here, and it's not me, it's this vineyard has won 7 Platter 5 stars. You know, it's unbelievable.
That's insane. You know, if you for those who don't know much about Platter here in Singapore, Platter's I guess the Parker, if it has to be compared to anything else of South African wine, and 5 stars is the most it gets. I think if I remember my stats, maybe 2% of what Platter rates gets 5 stars, and it's certainly from a buying point of view the most prestigious thing that one seeks out of South Africa at the moment. I'd say that Platter and Tim Aiken are the two, I guess, market makers in terms of defining. And the other thing to point out is that you guys have been recognized by Aiken as he's creating this Grand Cru kind of notation of prestigious wineries in South Africa, and you guys have been named by him as being one of those.
Yeah, the first grapes, yeah, one of the,
Yeah, sorry, first
Yeah.
graph, yeah.
vineyard. I mean, we just pulled out a vineyard next to this, and because the fantastic thing about the wine is the soil. We've got the piece of land that we're on is just phenomenal. It's not just me saying. We had some soil scientists there. They just have not seen any soils like this in the whole of Stellenbosch. So it's really, really special. And so, yeah, it's just really, the cab has got nice richness. It's a full wine without being too rich, too tannic.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I find it quite seamless. And again, focus more on the red fruit spectrum and the juiciness and the accessibility of the wine than being chunky and rich.
You've been quoted as saying that the 18 is the most modern style of Cabernet that you've ever made. And I wanted to ask you, why? Is that because of alcohol, or is that because of the oak compound? What's defining that thinking?
You just poured them, so I'm assuming that's why.
Yes, I think the modern comes from the fruit purity with the kind of upfront juiciness, almost drinkability, and also being serious. You know, that it's seen almost 100% new oak. You can't taste any new oak in the wine. It's really kind of focus on fruit, focus on purity without dominating with too much oak. There's none of that kind of weird kind of herbaceousness to it or kind of earthiness to the wine. And yes, it's very, to me, a very modern cab. I think without being, it's not overripe. Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah,
Question. What altitudes are we talking about here? Where we? I mean, I'm a bit of a novice in South African wine, so are we talking at what type of altitudes?
So this vineyard sits about 400 meters above sea level. And then our highest vineyard is 580 meters. So on average, it's very high for Stellenbosch. I mean, Stellenbosch Valley, also good cab producing areas. They're also about 280, 60, 40 meters above sea level. Okay. But we very much high. It's like,
yeah, okay.
And very much north facing. So we kind of look straight to the Simonsberg mountain. So we really get that more ripeness. And altitude definitely plays it.
I would. Is that what's making, for me, the word that seems to ring around my mind when I taste this one is refinement. There's a gravitas or an eloquence about the wine. And is that largely a fundamental of altitude, or, as the French would say, terroir, and just leave it up to that?
I think it's a combination. I think for me the key part is the clone that we use. It's an old French clone, 169. Very much a feminine clone. It's not this big, heavy, chunky style of Cabernet. It's just very much kind of a fruit-forward clone. And I do kind of, and the combination of the soil and the altitude, and it just really, really works well.
Quite sultry, nearly, Rob. And sorry, I came late, but they're quite delicate. If that makes sense.
Yeah, mate. The thing that intrigues me about this is it's got the phenolics have this beautiful promise of indulgence, and sometimes I sometimes call it a muffin top, where there's too much of it. Whereas here you have this wonderful promise of richness and opulence, but it's all reined in. It's all, the architecture of it is so fantastic that it's not overdone, and that's a rare thing to find. It can so easily go the wrong way, and it's nimble, but at the same time having this opulence. I really adore this.
It's a question about altitude, because it seems to be more refined. It's not as big as or as heavy as okay.
Yeah.
I think that we've learned here on Delaire in terms of the fruit and the handling of the fruit, and the viticulturally also what we've done. We've kind of not mastered it, but we know how to handle the fruit to get the wine to this kind of level of elegance and juiciness. And I think also the key is also the person that, we can make it very big if you want. We can make it like the chunkiest, biggest wine, but I really hold the wine back. I don't want to push it to its full potential, because I think then we're going to have too big of a wine. And I'm very much more feminine,
Yeah.
kind of more elegant style of cab drinker.
Especially in today's world where it's increasingly hotter and those Beaumet levels in the Cabernet can shoot up, in a second. And suddenly you've got all the sugar and it's just a blousy hot mess. It's so often, it's a difficult thing to rein that back and ensure that the wine has its right. It's a really hard task. And so hats off to you for this. I think it's really good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's just not just me, it's a team effort.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you, I think your cellar notes suggested 6 to 8 years cellaring beyond its current release. That seems quite conservative. And I wanted to ask you if I had that right and what your thinking around that.
I'm always thinking about a South African scenario of a person keeping it under his bed or under the staircase at very kind of bad selling conditions. So I'd rather let them drink it early. But I mean, if you have a beautiful cellar, well temperature controlled, humidity controlled, I mean, those European cellars are brilliant. That's why I'm a bit more conservative with aging on this.
Well, I must say that here in Singapore, I know people who sort out their wine cellar before they get their fridge. It's something of a priority in this part of the world.
Sorry, can I interject a quick question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you tell us a bit how this ages over time and how it will change over time? For example, if we were to cellar it for, say, 8 years,
3, 4 years.
you want to say 3 to 4? Yeah, knowing us, 3 to 4. Can you tell us how it will age and how it will change?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key is that kind of that bright red fruit, kind of primary fruit, will get much less, and it will turn into more like I would say, earthier, richer kind of style. More kind of, let's say, autumn leafy kind of. If you break up autumn leaves and smell it, that kind of character that you'll get. So I would say, I mean, I'm a big fan of drinking wines earlier. I've been fortunate to drink some brilliant old Bordeaux wines that's very old and they were fantastic. But in general, I'm more like after 5 years, I'll probably reconsider South African wines because I think but just stick to maybe 3 to 4 years. It's going to be really, then if you like the primary fruits, that's also very important. I like primary fruit, but I think after 5 years, definitely it's going to be, the acidity is going to get softer. The wine is going to be a bit more creamier, but you'll lose some of the primary juiciness that you get now, the kind of crunchiness. You won't have it then. If you like that, then drink it early. If you're more for more mellow, more gentle style, then keep it a bit later.
So thank you. And you'd say within, say, 3 years, 4 years max?
No, it will be fine for longer. But I mean, if you after that more fresher style, I would say 3 years.
3. Thank you.
All right. So on to the last one, the Shiraz.
Yeah, it's
I'm calling it Shiraz, but it's Shiraz. I'm not sure what word you choose. Being Mediterranean. Probably Shiraz, right?
Well, it's Shiraz, then it's a Shiraz in style. But yeah, and it's, I mean, Robert, they can maybe tell them the price difference between the cab and this, and then I'll start talking.
Yeah, it's half the price of the Cabernet. I wanted to, I really want the Botmans and the Cabernet to be tasted side by side, and the Shiraz, because there's a lot of serious Shiraz drinkers here, to see it at the end of the night as a complete change in tannic and phenolic profile.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Shiraz for us is very kind of the start of our red wine portfolio. So when it kind of screw top, it's like easy style, crispy, juicy style. I'm not a big fan of oak and Shiraz, so it's got very little oak. Really just quite fun. It's lunchtime red or evening red for very kind of informal drinking, and just some beautiful charcuterie platters, kind of like grilled meats, for example, works extremely well with that. So it's very kind of a social wine. It's a fun wine. You can drink bottles of the stuff and just enjoy.
What I wanted to ask you, Morney, the Chenin Blanc and the Syrah, the two that are in Stelman, does Delaire Graff have do you have a policy regarding adopting Stelvin completely, or how are you approaching the Stelvin versus cork thing?
Yeah, it's a bit complicated. In the past, we had a very simple philosophy. Everything that was in stainless steel, we use screw top, and the cork and barrel will be cork. But we're moving more barreled wines to screw cap. First of all, I think it's a great move in terms of the freshness and longevity of the wine. The wines last much longer than cork. And we also had a very bad, I would say around 2010, 2013, there was a very, very bad supply of corks. And we had so much issues with the cork, so it really formed like really forced us to go into the screw top route, because I mean you have to replace a lot of wine, because it's like when we've done so much hard work in the vineyards and the cellar to make the wine, and then some little piece of wood from Portugal comes screw up the whole thing. So
annoying.
So yeah, so we're moving more and more to that, and now we actually come to a point where all our corks are individually tested and analyzed, so we pay a fortune for it. So it also just doesn't justify the price on all the products, because it's really expensive, our cork procurement.
Yeah, I hear stories from Australia and New Zealand that because so many people are moving to Stelvin, the quality of cork that you can access now is much better than it was 10 or 15 years ago. Are you experiencing that?
No, I think technology also on that side have changed. So the the machines that's handling it, the kind of fault detection machines that they have these days.
Yeah,
it's also kind of improved a lot since it was back then. So yeah, I still think there's a big market for natural cork. I mean the French, they struggle to not use cork. So yeah, definitely a big market, but yeah, the quality is definitely improved, and also this become so competitive that you have to have a good product, or else you're just out of the market.
Yeah, there's certainly other marketplaces that just don't take Stelvin ever, full stop.
There's some beautiful alternatives.
Yeah, I can't decide. I'm very undefined about this, because it upsets me so much to throw away a wine that was brilliantly made that has been stuffed up because of it. But at the same time, for me, there's this incredible alchemy of cork and the aging of wine and the whole evolution of it in one thing and the risks attached to it, that I sometimes fall back and think, yeah, see, that Cabernet that we had tonight, if it had been under Stelvin, it would have given us far more primary. There was something about the fact that it was sitting under cork that added a gravitas to that wine, whether I like it or not. It's part of the process. No.
Yeah, look, I'm kind of I'm a fan of both, but I think on white wines you should stick to Stelvin, because it just it gets so pretty and so nice after years. Also about traditional thing versus modern.
All right, Morney, our time is up. Before we let you go, are there any more questions from everybody? And before I forget, Kristen, welcome back to Singapore after all your time in Australia. Her audio is not on. Grant's been attending our Thursday night tastings in Kristen's absence religiously.
Yes, he has, and the dog has been a poor substitute.
Well, welcome back. I hope the trip back wasn't too hard.
No, it was good. Thank you. But it's such a delight to be back and drinking such lovely wines again. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, on that note, Morney, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys.
It's been illuminating and really cool. Guys, I sent you a link in the Zoom invite to the wines that we have left. Judging by how limited the stock is, we're going to be ordering relatively quickly again. So thanks so much for joining us tonight, and everybody enjoy your weekend.
Right.
Take it easy. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
All right,
Thanks.
guys. See you.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Morney, can you throw me back and make me host again?
Oh, Sam.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, you should be able to resign as host.
I'm horrible at this stuff.
Okay, if you can't, we'll just say goodnight. It's fine. I've got the recording anyway. Yeah, it's fine. Lekker blij. We'll see you soon.
Yes, keep well,
Bye,
cheers guys, keep well.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All wrapped up, darling.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, just curious, is it over? Mute.
Are they on mute?
Yeah, you guys are on mute.
Or maybe we're on mute.
No.
Yeah. Sorry. I just went to the toilet. I didn't realize that was the end of the evening. But
Yeah, I know. I kind of hang up and then I thought I was being rude and I connected back. But-
Hi, I'm Charmaine. Nice to meet you.
yeah, same. So well, we've got a couple of glasses of wine here. So
I know.
I
Isn't
know.
it lovely? Where are you guys in Singapore? Where are you staying?
We're at Ardmore Park here on our balcony.
Oh, right down the street, I think. Yeah, we're right now in the Shangri-La. We've been here about a week.
So we're looking at you right now because we're on the corner of Anderson and Ardmore. It's called
Nice.
Ardmore.
Oh, you're so close. Oh my
So
God. Great.
we're gonna move into this. It's a strange building, but it's what's it called? Nouvelle 18.
Yeah.
You're
Right across-
exactly opposite us.
It's that weird black building. So
Sorry, I'm going to turn my. That's what.
oh, there we go.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we're gonna have to wave at you.
So in a month, if you see disco lights and all kinds of weird stuff, just close your blinds, okay?
You just moved to Singapore, or?
Yeah, we did from the States. Yeah, from the
Okay.
US. Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome. It's we're not seeing many people come this way. They tend to be going the other way these days.
Right.
I know.
Right.
I know.
So we were here 20 years ago. So it's a great, we had our kids and everything, and we're back.
Yeah.
And it's changed, but it still looks, there's a lot of it that's still maintained, the greenery and all that. It's just amazing. It's just good to see.
Are you guys doing quarantine or?
We're done. We just got done last week. So
we would really be ahead of the game if we were doing this during quarantine.
My wife came back from Australia yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, fantastic. Wow.
She had the quarantine here until her results came through. So
well, good for her.
Perfect.
Yeah, we quarantined in the Fairmont and it wasn't
Yeah.
bad. We
wasn't
survived
bad.
it. So
So you used to live here, but you've just come back to living in Singapore. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, 20 years. Yeah, we've been
20
all
years
over.
ago, we lived here.
But it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Well,
And
Rob,
where in Australia you guys from?
we're from Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been in Singapore for 4 years
How
now,
many
I
years?
suppose.
4.
So how did you know Rob then? So how did you end up on a wine?
So I don't know if you know Dave Fernandez.
No.
He's kind of new. So I have a house in Sarasota and I play a lot of golf there, and I played with Dave's cousin and I met Dave here. And then he told me about this last week when we were having dinner, and here we are.
That's on you. So just for the record, usually there's the formal session, and then there's usually a half an hour after session. So I'm surprised that Rob must be, but Rob didn't look like he was in his office, so he must be somewhere.
No, he was, I logged on early and I think he hit it pretty early. So I think he looked pretty tired.
He's definitely not at work. He's somewhere, I don't know where he is, but because normally he and Lou just hang around for the next.
Yeah, and yap around.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to follow up and order the wines
We've got the link.
afterwards.
We've got the links.
Okay, we make the links. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Look, and as I said to my wife, is that I'm not a big drink. Well, I don't know a lot about South African wines, but and I'm always guaranteed to ask at least one question in one of these online. And I was 25 minutes late because I've been at an Irish bar down the road called Muddy Murphy's, where I've.
Oh, we know it
my
well.
God, we've hung out there forever.
So my wife adopted a cat out of, 20 years ago. She found a cat from outside of that damn bar. And then she shows up at home with this cat. And that cat ended up in 4 countries.
Traveled all over the world.
And
with
it
us.
finally died in Connecticut. So yeah.
Well, we have good friends that have been here, maybe from when you were here.
Yeah.
And Tiffany and Angus McDougall. So Tiffany's American, Angus is an Australian, but they've been here for the last 20 odd years. And
Oh wow.
I knew those guys. In a previous life, we were in Hong Kong, and I know Angus from Hong Kong.
Right.
So there was an, and it gets more esoteric. There was an Australian rules football game on tonight.
Oh yeah.
So we're at Muddy Murphy's on my laptop watching the game, and then hence we were late to get to the other wine tasting. But
wow.
So Muddy's is very much going to be. And if you're facing this way, you will definitely. We're on the 34th floor, so. We're nearly at the top of Ardmore too.
25.
Yeah, we're gonna be 25, so I've got to deal with that.
I swear you can probably walk out and just wave, but
Yeah.
yeah. So Rob, we've been doing this with, especially during lockdown.
Yeah.
Online tasting was a bit of a savior nearly for us.
Did he say? Did he say this is more frequently than once a month, or is it once?
No. He nearly does it nearly once every Thursday night. Pretty much.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a problem.
And it's become it's become, he does his dinners as well, but
yeah.
Oh,
but
nice.
we've been to a dinner.
Are they wine pairing dinners?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and Rob's a South African Australian largely.
Yeah, I could
I'm
tell.
not sure which,
Yeah, he lived there.
whether he's more South African Australian, but what he does is because in Singapore you can only have 8 people. He tends to have a dinner with 8 people, and
cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us.
So maybe we'll see you guys. Yeah.
Let us introduce ourselves. I'm Charmaine, and this is John. And what's your name?
Grant. Does it come up? Does it come up with my Grant? You come up as Charmaine. I come up as Grant, and my wife Kristen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Kristen and Grant.
Yeah.
And Charmaine and John. Yeah.
So maybe we'll see you guys around. Yeah.
Well, look, you guys are so close. It's wonderful.
You like wine, and there are another friends of ours, and he's an American actually, Todd.
Yeah.
So Todd and Lara were on tonight as well, but they're having dinner, so they didn't show their faces. But
okay.
But,
right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if I could. I'll tell you what. Here we go. We
Yeah. Let me
do a quick.
Figure out how to get you my something.
No. Oh, I can do this.
For dinner.
So
what happened to Kristen now? Did she run off?
I'm going to give you my email address.
Perfect.
Okay.
And
I'll take a picture and then I'll just send you mine.
Now, do you guys have kids or are
you
alone?
Yeah. There you go. That's how you come up as a.
You take a picture. Dooley.
That's right. So we have.
Oh, that's a great Irish name.
Yeah, that's right.
Where have you gone, Tom?
So we have 5.
Sorry, I'm Irish.
She's German and Irish, the worst. Yeah.
Well, my dad was Irish, and my mum's family were German. So okay.
She's German Irish, the other way. The worst.
Guilty.
I never win anything. Yeah.
So,
I'm stubborn and funny, but I'm the only one who thinks I'm funny.
I have two children live with us here. I have another son that lives here, but he lives by himself and he works. He's in
Singapore.
In Singapore.
Oh, wow.
Mathematician. He's my eldest son, and then I have 4 kids in Australia. So I have 5. Yeah.
Wow.
So how old are your kids?
So the 2 here are 14 and 17.
Our daughter is 16. She might be coming down.
17 next month. Yeah.
And then my daughter in Australia is 19, and then my son, who's in Australia, is 23. Then my son who lives here has just turned 30.
He's the one working here.
Oh, okay,
Nice.
okay.
Big
That's
spectrum.
excellent.
So
Yeah.
But I'm only 35, so I'm not quite sure how this.
I know you. Yeah. I had hair
That
before I
is-
met this woman 30 years ago. Yeah.
The
We've
weirdest
been
thing
married
is,
32 years. We were married when we were 19.
Yeah.
So
So Grant, I'll send you an email, and you may have heard of. So I work for Linda, the gas company, but I think in
Linda,
Australia,
I know
we're known as
Linda, yeah.
BLC.
I'm a funds manager, infrastructure funds manager. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you may in Australia we're known as BOC. So
PLC,
that's
yeah.
why.
My wife.
So I run our APAC and Africa business. I've just moved out from the States, so
Okay.
I'm sure I'll send you an email and send you my contact, and
yeah,
hopefully we'll meet up for something.
that
Yeah.
would be fantastic.
I'm just waving at you at your new house down the road. So.
I know,
Yeah, exactly.
From the balcony.
Okay, well, nice to
Or
meet you guys.
we could do a wine
and
tasting together. We could have you over and we could do
yeah,
it
sure.
together.
I mean, we've
That would be amazing.
the whole thing about being an expat is that it's about actually meeting new people. So
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
very much. And
All right. I think your wife's gonna cut you off, so we'll see you.
I can see she's making dinner, which is you.
Yeah, I know. Good for you. Mine doesn't make dinner.
Nice to meet you guys.
Guilty.
See ya.
Bye.